Hey guys, it's Kayla and Joey with Tactical Response. Today, Medical Monday, we are going to do a little bit of wound care for you. So if you want to walk them through what happened, and then I can explain the why.
Yeah. So I take testosterone sub-Q, and I didn't properly clean the vial off, and so I have had a bit of an abscess that ended up developing on my stomach. I've been to the doctor. They've done their part, but I have some wound care that I need to do here, and that Kayla's gonna show me how to do.
So when you're going to give any kind of injection, you want to clean the spot, and once you pop that little lid off the medicine, clean the vial as well, especially if it's a multi-dose medication. And that is because bacteria and infection can get on top of that, like the germs for it, and then when you stick the needle in and draw the medication out, then you put it in your belly, all of that stuff is going into your tissue and stuff, so it can get pretty bad pretty quick. Always, always, always clean the top of the vial and the spot that you're going to give yourself the shot with alcohol pads.
Yep.
I know Amaya, she's a type 1 diabetic and has to do insulin a lot, and when you do stuff so frequently, it's easy to get into the habit, but this just kind of reinforces how important it is to always follow everything.
Yeah, lesson learned. Learn from me. I made the mistake for you. You don't have to do it.
So I'm just going to show you guys what I'm about to use. The first thing, hand sanitizer. I sanitize my hands, let them dry, and then I put gloves on. And since the gloves have been in a shelf here, I sanitize the outside of the glove, let that dry completely before I start doing anything. We also used a bleach spray on the table before we laid stuff down, even though it was fresh in the packaging, just in case we wanted to minimize the amount of germs that were going to be in our area. The first thing that I want to talk about is the this one, Hibiclens, and I will link all of this stuff to Amazon below in the bio so that you guys can go get this if you ever need it. Hibiclens, the pink soap, it is really good stuff. This is what we used as hand soap at the jail when I was working there, because there was a lot of staph and just grossness going on. But Hibiclens, and that's what we use to cleanse the area. Normal saline, just regular saline. Wound wash is the brand of this one, the Neil Med Wound Wash. And you want to have your saline that you're using to do this stuff sterile, because again, we're going inside, because it's an opened wound, we're going inside with this stuff, so it is in your tissue and stuff like that, so we want it as clean as possible, so we use this. A good pair of medical tweezers. I got these out of a bigger surgical kit. Any good pair of medical tweezers will work. The 2x2 gauze, just the Equate brand, there's nothing special about them, and this is what we are going to use to clean the outside of it with, and then I will wrap this around a Q-tip and show y'all a neat trick in a little bit of how to get down in there without worrying about leaving the cotton from the Q-tip in there. Rolled gauze. I prefer iodoform, but I don't think it's an over-the-counter product. So we did rolled gauze. Anytime you're going to pack a wound, you use the rolled stuff so that everything comes out in one big piece. Just Q-tip. I do brand name Q-tips because if some of the cotton does happen to come off, it's way less likely with these. They shed a lot less than regular Q-tips. A pair of bandage scissors. And then I like the silk tape. It holds way better than the paper tape, and even better than the plastic style tape that the doctor had initially put on there. The silk tape, it's my jam. If it's a wound that you can leave for a little longer, you can also put something like Tegaderm over the top of that, but those are designed to hold for 7 days or so. Okay. And we're going to have you changing that out daily. So we're about to go in there and do this, and when we get back, we'll tell you guys how it went, and I'll let Joey talk a little bit about it. So remember, guys, wound care is pretty specific, but you can do a lot with the type of wound. And with this one, we're going to pack it because of how deep it is, and we want it to heal a certain way. I'm going to start out by cleansing the area with Hibiclens. It's the pink soap, and it is amazing. Gets rid of staph, all kinds of bad stuff. Just cleaning out small circles away from it so that you pick up any infection and take it away to the outside. And then these tweezers have been cleaned. He has a clump, a hard ball or knot of infection in there, so I'm going to use the tweezers to get it out, hopefully. I'm going to open it up. And we got, I don't know if you guys can see it, just the clump of infection out. No, you take them. Get a fresh gauze pad. Clean around the outside again since we just brought some new infection to the surface. We're going to take the pink soap and again start at the center. Small circles, working our way out. And then I'm going to get down in there with the help of a Q-tip and a gauze pad. The best way to do that is to just take one of the pre-packaged gauze, the little 2x2s, and you can open it up, turn it into a little bit bigger, and we're covering our Q-tip so that those little fuzzies, these little fuzzies don't get stuck in there. So we're going to cover it with the gauze, and then I'm sure you've probably guessed it, the pink soap Hibiclens. And just kind of drench the tip of it, and this is when you're going to go down and get in there really good, just back and forth. Come out. Oh, I found another nugget. So my sister's helping me today. If you don't mind cleaning off those tweezers again with a fresh thing of alcohol. Make sure that when you clean stuff with alcohol, you let it completely dry before you put it in there. Alcohol can destroy good tissue and bad tissue, and we only want to take care of the bad tissue. So clean them off, and then make sure that you've got any like fuzzies or anything that would have been left on there. Okay, good pair. And then we're going to go back in to get the next little bead of infection. That one's much smaller. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. And you guys know the process. Since we brought new infection, I'm going to go ahead and do the outside and then the inside again. And we may keep getting little pebbles like that. I'm not sure. Okay. When you're the person doing this, always wear gloves. Even if you love them, care about them, know them, swap body spit with them. You don't want to introduce their wound to any of your germs. So, and you don't want your hand to get introduced to any of their germs. Your fingernails and stuff like that have a lot of microscopic tears around it. So I'm going to take the Q-tip Hibiclens with the gauze on top of the Q-tip to prevent the cotton from going in there. And go inside again, just left to right. Okay, got some stuff out, so we're gonna start with a new one with the Q-tip. You may have to go get more gauze.
Okay.
We're going through more. No, not right now. Before they leave. This is the first really good debridement he's had since he went to the hospital over it. So, and that's what this is called, is a mechanical debridement. just fancy for cleaning it out and getting in there and scrubbing on it. Okay. Bleeding is a good indicator, because when you get blood, that means that it's washing out all of the infection that's in there. Like, fresh blood is good for infection. And then I'm going to ask my lovely assistant to start cutting little bitty strips of gauze to stuff in there. We're going to do a wet to dry dressing like I mentioned before. And that just makes sure that, let me set this back on the thing. That just makes sure that the wound closes like this instead of in a pocket to let infection stay in that bubble.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay that I just trim this?
Yeah, that you just, as long as you're not touching. Anything outside of a hospital is really difficult to do in complete sterility. So what we're going for right now is just a clean environment. We sanitized all the tables. We are using hand sanitizer on our hands and just keeping everything clean, because that's about all you can ask for if you're not in a hospital OR setting. I'm going to give it one more good clean. It looks really, really good down in there. The tissue is all pink, and I'm glad that I did the one more cleaning. I found another nugget.
Did you get it
I
out?
need the tweezers again.
I already cleaned them off.
Okay. Found another nugget, a little stone of infection. And these tweezers are being cleaned in between each one, but I got that little stone out. Okay. And you're gonna, if you can find iodoform, it is a really, really thin strip of iodine packed gauze that you can get down into little wounds like that. That's the best. I don't know if you can even buy it over the counter. We used it a lot whenever I was working at the jail to pack wounds. But if you can find iodoform, that's going to be the best way to do this. But since I do not have access to any of that right now, we are taking rolled gauze, because you want to make sure that you're not going to get anything stuck down in there, and just cutting it into little strips. Cleaning on top again, because we pulled that nugget out. So center, big circles out. If you don't mind going and getting me wetting a couple of gauze to rinse it before we put a bandage over it.
But it was really
Just the
That
sterile
stuff?
water, yeah. Anything that's going in here, you can buy sterile saline at the store, and that's what I recommend using, just because it was a hotbed for infection before we started. He got on antibiotics and started doing the correct wound care. We're doing another Q-tip run to make sure that we got all of those out. Joey, we may be able to use these as the packing material too. Going back in, pink stuff, making sure, like I said, that we got all that stuff out. And I'm glad that we did, because this is showing me that it's going deeper on either side than I initially realized. So that just means more packing.
This soaked. Is that good?
Okay, good. Yep.
Just one or two?
Okay. Just one is fine. We hand me a Q-tip. Now we're going to go in behind it with just saline soaked cotton swabs. These are just soaked in saline. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Heather was asking me if I was good.
Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to take the end that I didn't use, and again, start at the center, work my way out. So the wound is pretty good and clean now, But again, we're going to pack it in a wet to dry style dressing to keep it from closing with the pocket of infection. So if I can have the
What do you need now?
little strips that you were cutting these out.
I didn't know how big they were, how big they were supposed to be.
Maybe like that.
And how long. I don't know that either.
A lot. You want to do the rolled gauze or the strings of stuff like that's longer, so that when you start to pull it out, no piece gets left behind in there. Perfect. You're gonna have to go a lot longer than that, but that is the perfect width.
I just don't want it to touch the floor or the trash can.
Oh, you're good. And we are going to use a Q-tip to stuff this down. My preferred Q-tips are, again, the ones that you get in doctor's offices that have the wooden stick with it. But I couldn't find any of those in the wound care section. I just need the one.
Oh, do I need to keep going?
Just a little bit longer. I think that'll do it. Okay. And now, since I'm packing fresh material in and these hands have dealt with infection, we're going to change gloves before we start packing with the saline. So you're just going to take a strip, you can put it in your hand like this right here, and you're going to soak it in saline. That's going to be,
This stuff?
yep, the wet part.
That's good.
Tap water will not work on this, guys. You need sterile saline. So then we're going to take our Q-tip, like this right here. Okay, so what I did there is I held the side of it, and then I just wrapped around a little bit, and that's what I'm going to use to initially go in with. Okay, and then I'm just going to start packing it. You tell me if the pain becomes too much, okay?
Oh yeah. No, you'll know. I'll yell.
We can take breaks. So I'm taking the Q-tip from the top and just doing a twist. Heather, if you could grab a phone and get a close-up of this, we may be able to put it on the YouTube people who subscribe stuff.
Yep. Sneak peek.
Yep.
You need a close up. Like a video or a
Yeah.
picture?
A video.
Okay.
Can you walk around to that?
Well, I don't want to block that camera.
You won't. You won't.
You won't. So if you guys see a phone, it's my sister. We're getting a close-up. If you subscribe to YouTube, I'm going to try to talk him into putting this her cell phone footage on that so that you can actually see what's happening better. So literally just taking this, spinning it in. And the Q-tip itself is not going in without gauze around it. You make sure you're packing all the way down in on all sides. And we are getting close to being fully packed. When you have stuff like this, I recommend just taking a little shaver and going over stuff. You can see where the doctor did that. It just makes it easier to work with. And we are packed. So, if you like once you get all the wet in, you're going to go on top of that with a dry dressing. You do the wet so that it wicks infection and doesn't dry out and rip good tissue off when you go to pull this out. The next time that he changes this, that's going to be yellow and look gross, but when you pull it out, you're pulling all of that infection out with it. So now we're just going to do a quick snip of the the gauze itself, leave him enough to grab onto. Look at these bandage scissors not cutting bandages. There we go. You want to leave him enough to be able to grab onto, but just lay that on top of there like that. Then we're going to get a dry gauze. Put it on top of that. I'm going to go ahead and pull this old one completely off.
It's got yellow pussy stuff on it.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do a second one just to make sure that the outside of this stays dry. Okay. And my favorite tape to use for stuff like this is this silk cloth tape. Guys, it sticks better than the paper tape, than the plastic tape. This stuff is incredible.
Gorilla tape sticks better than that.
Do no harm. First, do no harm. I don't know if y'all heard he said Gorilla tape sticks better than that.
Do you need me to cut it?
Yep, we're going to cut with the bandage scissors.
Which side?
It doesn't
This
matter.
one?
Yep. Okay. And we're just going to tape it down like that. And I'm going to tape it like this right here. That way each piece of tape kind of helps secure the one before it. Another reason to trim up the area so that the tape doesn't hurt as bad coming off. You don't want to get a free waxing as well.
I blame Tim. He said just take some penicillin. You'll be all right.
And then we'll run just a couple strips over on the edges, smaller strips, to make sure that nothing else is getting in there. Look at me flipping the bandage or the tape. Like this. So that's going to help it hold onto his belly better. And then I'm going to cover all of the exposed stuff that would soak up moisture, just because we don't want the stuff from his shirt getting on there. And although the wet gauze underneath will help protect the wound itself. And we are all done. So that was it. It's not that difficult. I tell people all the time, nursing school was just to learn the jargon. Most of the stuff you learn hands-on and by doing it. So they have kits out there that you can practice with wounds and all that. Maybe try one of those if this is something that interests you. But I'm going to let Joey talk about a little bit how it felt. Like, what was the pain level?
It wasn't that painful. It wasn't that painful at all. It was just a little bit of pressure. I told Heather and them when I went to the doctor, and they packed it at the ER when I went, that I thought I had a high pain tolerance, but them packing it there and like cleaning it out with the forceps and stuff is the most painful thing I went through. So when Kayla went to start this today, I was ready for that. It was just some slight pressure. I don't know if maybe it's because it's healed a little bit more or they didn't have to go as much, but anyway, it was not bad at all. So if you're worried about that, like you talked about how doing it for yourself,
sometimes you can't pack it deep enough because it hurts.
So I'm not worried about that at all anymore. But yeah, so nothing terrible.
Okay.
Maybe I am just super tough. I don't know.
Something fun fact. once you get so far into your abdominal area, you no longer have pain receptors.
Oh.
Because if you did, then you would feel like the peristalsis and all that happening to make you digest your food.
Okay.
So, like, inside of there, there's not a whole lot of things that feel pain. And I didn't, like, they probably at the ER use some pretty serious debridement stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We just use gauze, Hibiclens, and saline. I did have to go in and fish the little pebbles out.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they were pebbles instead of still just pus, because the free pus is a lot harder to get out.
Right.
And you want to make sure that all that stuff is out anytime that you're doing something like that, just to clear it of infection. But
Yeah.
so on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad was it?
Oh, 2 or 3.
Okay.
Like, it was just slight pressure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
you're
just because
really
I'm
good.
a really
Yeah,
awesome
maybe.
nurse. So I don't know. Like, what's your vote? Is Joey just really tough, or am I just a really good nurse?
Why not both? Why can't it just be both?
Because this is a competition. But that about covers it. Wound care is my game. I love it. I like gross stuff. I can't help it. Anytime that you have a wound that's opened like that, my favorite way to dress it is the wet to dry, because like I said when I was doing it, the wet gauze helps kind of wick the infection out, and it keeps it wet so that it doesn't stick to the gauze, and that it can close like this right here instead of like this with an infection bubble. Yeah. Deep wounds need to be packed. That's all there is to it.
The second most painful thing I went through was them pulling the gauze out 2 days later at the ER. So, that's what the doctor said. He was like, yeah, it heals and like it gets stuck to the insides a bit. So yeah, I'm very.
So what we're gonna do for Joey is have him change this out daily to try to minimize that and still get the most out of like being able to pull as much infection out as possible. So he'll do the same process himself. And luckily, he'll have this YouTube video to refer to. But he's going to do the same process himself while they are on the road.
Cool.
My vote might be swinging more towards you being tough, because he's about to go take some classes and go to SHOT Show with this. So he's a badass. But I think that's everything. Mm-hmm. You get to take James's line.
I get to take
James's line.
All right. So your responsibility to be ready for the fight never ends.